The ships appeared without warning on a quiet Tuesday morning. Black against the blue sky, they hung like massive thunderclouds over every major city on Earth. For 23 minutes, the world held its breath. News channels scrambled for coverage. Military forces worldwide went to full alert. Ordinary people stopped in streets and hallways, looking up at screens or at the actual sky, wondering what would happen next. No one expected the strike to be so sudden. No demands, no communication, just death from above. The first beam hit New York at 9:17 a.m. Eastern Time. The second hit Beijing 30 seconds later. Then London, Tokyo, Moscow, Delhi. The pattern continued with mechanical precision. Where the beams touched, everything was simply gone. Buildings, people, infrastructure, all converted to ash and scattered on hot winds. In those first hours, the death toll reached millions. They called it the Day of Fire. On a small farm outside of Bozeman, Montana, Jack Reynolds watched the news with growing horror. His hands trembled as he set down his coffee mug. At 52, Jack had spent 20 years in the Army before retiring to this quiet place. He had seen war before, but nothing like this. "We need to get ready," he told his wife, Mary. His voice was steady, betraying none of the fear he felt. "Call Tom and Lisa. Tell them to bring the kids and come here now." Mary nodded, already reaching for her phone. She had learned long ago to trust Jack's instincts in a crisis. Their farm sat in a small valley, partially hidden by pine-covered hills. The house and barn were mostly self-sufficient with solar panels, a well, and enough stored food to last months. Jack had built it this way out of habit, not because he had ever expected to need these precautions. As Mary called their daughter's family, Jack went to the basement. Behind a false wall panel was a small room filled with emergency supplies and communications equipment, another habit from his military days. He powered up an old radio set and began scanning frequencies. What he heard confirmed his worst fears. The attacks continued worldwide. Government channels were in chaos. Military responses had been tried and failed completely. Fighter jets exploded mid-air long before reaching the alien ships. Missiles detonated harmlessly miles from their targets. By evening, Tom and Lisa arrived with their 2 children, faces pale with shock. 8-year-old Ben clutched his favorite toy truck, while 12-year-old Kate remained silent, her eyes wide with a fear too big for words. "The roads are jammed," Tom reported, helping his wife bring in supplies from their car. "People are panicking. We barely made it out of the city." Jack nodded grimly. "Did you see any of them? The ships?" "Just on the horizon heading toward the city," Lisa said. Her hands shook as she set down a bag of groceries. "Jack, what is happening?" "I don't know," he admitted, "but we'll figure it out together." That night, they gathered around the radio and television, hungry for any information. The president had been evacuated to an unknown location. The United Nations building was gone. Military bases worldwide reported heavy damage. And still, the alien ships, now being called Dominion vessels based on intercepted communications, continued their systematic destruction. 3 days after the initial attack, the first message came. It appeared simultaneously on all working screens and broadcast frequencies worldwide. The face that appeared was almost human, but wrong in subtle ways. Eyes too large, skin too smooth, features too symmetrical. "People of Earth," the figure spoke in perfect, accentless English. "I am Admiral Voss of the Galactic Dominion. Your world is now under our control. Resistance is pointless and will result in further cleansing actions. Accept your place, and survivors may be permitted to serve." The message repeated in multiple languages then ended. "Serve?" Mary whispered. "They killed millions just to make us slaves?" Jack shook his head. "No. Something doesn't add up." 20 years of military strategy told him there was more to this than conquest. The attack pattern seemed designed to destroy leadership and infrastructure, but not to maximize casualties. If they wanted to kill everyone, they could have done so already. On the 7th day, the ships deployed smaller craft. These vessels descended to cleared areas in cities and began constructing what looked like base camps. Tall metal structures rose quickly, surrounded by energy fields that glowed faintly blue in the night. Reports came in from around the world about people being taken, scientists, engineers, and military personnel mostly. Some went willingly, hoping to negotiate. None returned. 2 weeks after the day of fire, Jack caught his first glimpse of the enemy on the ground. He had ventured into town for information, disguised as just another refugee. The small downtown area of Bozeman was mostly intact, being too small to warrant direct attack, but it was now under patrol. They walked on 2 legs and stood about 7 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in what appeared to be armor, but might have been their actual skin, a dark metallic blue that reflected sunlight in strange patterns. Their heads were elongated with no visible ears and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. They carried weapons that looked like nothing Jack had ever seen, slim rods that could apparently cut through concrete or flesh with equal ease. Jack watched from the shadow of an abandoned store as 3 of these beings directed a group of human workers to unload supplies from a hovering transport. The humans moved robotically, their eyes vacant. Some kind of mind control, Jack guessed, feeling sick. He was about to leave when he noticed something odd. One of the aliens was struggling with a simple earth padlock on a storage building. Despite its advanced technology, the creature seemed confused by the mechanical device. After several attempts, it simply used its weapon to cut through the door. A small weakness, but Jack filed it away. Every bit of information mattered now. A month into the occupation, the pattern became clear. The Dominion wasn't trying to kill all humans, just enough to break resistance. They wanted Earth's resources and maybe its people, but they hadn't brought a large invasion force. Their strategy relied on their overwhelming technological advantage. But they had miscalculated in one critical way. They expected surrender. Jack began making contact with other survivors. First locally, then across wider areas using encrypted radio signals. A former Air Force technician in Idaho had discovered that certain frequencies seemed invisible to Dominion monitoring. A network slowly formed. One night, as autumn chilled the air, Jack sat at his kitchen table with a small group of resistance leaders from neighboring areas. Among them was Dr. Emma Wilson, a physicist from Montana State University, who had narrowly escaped when her laboratory was raided. Their technology is advanced, she explained, spreading out diagrams, but not magical. I've been studying debris from one of their damaged scout vessels. There are weaknesses we can exploit. How many ships do they have in total? Asked Bill Foster, a former sheriff. Based on worldwide reports, I estimate fewer than 300. Major vessels, Emma replied. That's not enough for a full-scale occupation of an entire planet. So why attack us at all? Mary asked, pouring coffee for the group. If they don't have the numbers to properly invade? Jack had been wondering. The same thing. Preemptive strike, he said finally. They saw us as a threat or a potential threat. Emma nodded. That matches what I've pieced together from their computer fragments. They've done this before to other worlds. They identify civilizations at our approximate development stage and eliminate them before they can become competitors. Then they don't know humans very well, Bill said grimly. We don't go down easy. Jack looked around at the determined faces in his kitchen, ordinary people preparing to fight an interstellar empire. The odds were overwhelmingly against them. The enemy had technology centuries beyond Earth's understanding, but they had made one critical error. They should have killed us all, Jack said quietly, because now they've given us something more dangerous than any weapon. What's that? Asked Lisa, who had been silent until now. Jack's eyes were hard as steel when he answered, a reason to fight back. And nothing is more dangerous than humans who have nothing left to lose. Outside, the autumn wind picked up, scattering leaves, across the farmyard. Somewhere in the distance, a Dominion ship patrolled the night sky, its lights cutting through the darkness. The war had only just begun. 6 months after the day of fire, winter had settled hard over Montana. Snow blanketed the landscape, transforming the battleground Earth had become into something deceptively peaceful. Jack Reynolds pulled his coat tighter as he moved through the forest following Dr. Emma Wilson. Their breath formed clouds in the freezing air as they approached the hidden entrance to what had once been an old mining tunnel. "Password?" came a whisper from behind a cleverly disguised lookout point. "Patience ends," Jack replied. A section of snow-covered brush moved aside, revealing a narrow passage. Inside, the Resistance had transformed the abandoned mine into their primary base of operations. The main chamber bustled with activity. People hunched over salvaged computers, others cleaning weapons, and a group studying maps spread across a large table. What had started as a small network of survivors had grown into an organized resistance cell. Similar groups had formed across the country, across the world, connected by encrypted communications that the Dominion still hadn't detected. "Jack, Emma!" Mark Davis, a former telecom engineer who now handled their communications, waved them over. "You need to see this." The team in Nevada made contact. Jack felt a surge of hope. They hadn't heard from the Nevada cell in weeks, not since they'd attempted a risky mission to infiltrate a crashed Dominion scout ship. "They made it?" Emma asked, brushing snow from her hair. Once a respected university physicist, she now looked like any other survivor, thin, with hardened eyes and practical clothing. Only her intense focus when examining alien technology revealed her scientific background. "Not only made it," Mark said, grinning. "They got what they went for. The ship was damaged but mostly intact. They're bringing parts here. Should arrive tomorrow if they avoid the patrols." Jack nodded. "Good. We need every advantage we can get." Later that evening, Emma found Jack alone, studying reports from other resistance cells. She sat across from him, sliding a mug of hot tea his way. "You should rest," she said. "You've been going nonstop for days." Jack accepted the tea with a grateful nod. "Can't rest yet. The Dominion's changing their patrol patterns. They're adapting." "That's what I wanted to talk to you about," Emma said, lowering her voice. "I've been analyzing the data from their communication signals. Jack, I don't think they expected us to fight back this effectively." "What do you mean?" "Their initial attack was overwhelming, yes, but their occupation force? It's relatively small. Based on energy signatures we've detected, I estimate they have fewer than 10,000 troops planet-wide." Jack frowned. "That can't be right. They conquered the entire planet." "No," Emma corrected. "They destroyed our leadership and major military installations, then set up control centers in strategic locations. But they don't have the numbers for a true occupation. 10,000 troops couldn't control a single large country, let alone the world." "So why?" "Because it's worked before," she interrupted. "I've translated portions of their data logs. The Dominion follows a standard procedure. Identify developing civilizations, strike hard and fast, eliminate leadership and military response capability, then establish control centers. Most species surrender after the initial attack." Jack smiled, grimly. "They don't know humans very well." "Exactly." 2 days later, the Nevada team arrived with their precious cargo, salvaged parts from the Dominion scout ship. The most valuable piece was a partially intact computer system. Emma and her team of engineers worked around the clock to understand the alien technology. What they discovered changed everything. "It's not as advanced as we thought," Emma explained, to the Resistance leadership gathered around the makeshift lab. "Their basic technology, the principles behind it, isn't that far beyond ours. Maybe a century, not millennia. What they have is refinement and resources we lack." "Can we use any of it?" Jack asked. "Better than that," Emma said, her eyes bright with excitement. "We can operate it. The control systems are partly neurological. They respond to brain patterns. And here's the incredible thing. Human neural patterns are surprisingly compatible. More compatible than the Dominion's own biology, in some ways," she demonstrated by placing her hand on a small silver device. It glowed blue at her touch, then projected holographic symbols into the air above it. "This is just a simple data storage unit, but the principle applies to most of their technology. With practice, we can operate their weapons, their vehicles, maybe even their ships." A murmur of hope spread through the room. For the first time since the invasion, they had found a real advantage. 3 weeks later, their opportunity came. A resistance cell in Canada reported a Dominion patrol had been caught in an avalanche. One of the aliens had survived but was injured. Jack led a small team north across the border. They traveled by night, avoiding known patrol routes. The journey took 4 days. They found the Canadian resistance holed up in an abandoned ski resort. The surviving Dominion soldier was being kept sedated in what had once been a storage room. "We haven't killed it because we thought you might want to question it," explained Layla, the Canadian cell leader. "Your scientists said it might be possible." Emma approached the alien cautiously. Up close, the differences between its biology and human anatomy were more pronounced. Its skin wasn't armor as they'd first thought, but a natural exoskeleton with a metallic appearance. Its 4 eyes were currently closed, but occasional twitches suggested it was dreaming. "I've synthesized a stimulant that should counteract their sedative," Emma said, preparing a syringe. "Based on their biology, it should work similarly to how it would on humans." Jack positioned himself near the door, gun ready. "Everyone stay back, we don't know how it will react." Emma injected the alien. For a moment, nothing happened. Then all 4 eyes snapped open at once. The creature jerked against its restraints, making a high-pitched sound. "We're not going to hurt you," Emma said clearly, holding up empty hands. "We just want information." The alien's movement slowed as it took in its surroundings. When it spoke, the words came out in a strange accent, but understandable. "You speak our language?" "No," Emma replied. "You're speaking ours. The translation implant in your nervous system works both ways." The alien stared at her, all 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Impossible. Primitives cannot understand more than you think," Jack interrupted, stepping forward. "Why did the Dominion attack Earth?" The alien remained silent for a long moment, then made a sound that might have been laughter. "Protocol 17, preemptive containment of volatile species." "You attacked us because you thought we might be a threat someday?" Jack asked, anger rising in his voice. "Your species develops too quickly. Neural compatibility index unusually high. Risk assessment indicated high probability of expansion within 50 orbital cycles." Emma exchanged a surprised look with Jack. "You attacked because we learned too fast?" "All developing worlds are assessed. Those with high adaptation ratings are contained early." The alien shifted, its exoskeleton making a clicking sound. "Standard procedure." "How many troops does the Dominion have on Earth?" Jack asked. The alien's upper eyes narrowed. "I will not—" "We already know it's fewer than 10,000, Emma interjected. "We've measured your energy signatures. What we want to know is why so few." The alien's reaction was unexpected. All 4 eyes widened, and it made that strange laughing sound again. "Admiral Voss, overextended. Dominion forces engaged on multiple fronts. Cantari rebellion requires resources. Earth was personal project for Admiral." Jack leaned closer. "What does that mean? Personal project?" "Admiral's career advancement depends on successful containment operations. Earth was calculated as easy victory. Minimal resources allocated." A slow smile spread across Jack's face. "You're telling me that your Admiral attacked Earth to get a promotion, and he didn't bring enough forces to do the job properly?" The alien didn't respond directly, but its silence was confirmation enough. Later, as they left the alien under guard, Jack pulled Emma aside. "Do you believe what it said? About this Admiral Voss acting without full backing from their empire?" Emma nodded slowly. "It fits with everything we've observed. The overwhelming initial strike followed by a relatively small occupation force. They expected us to surrender immediately, and when we didn't, they lacked the resources to crush the resistance completely. So we're not actually fighting the full Dominion," Jack said, a new light in his eyes. "We're fighting one Admiral's understaffed pet project, and from what our guest said, the Dominion is already stretched thin with some rebellion elsewhere," Emma added. "They can't easily send reinforcements." Jack looked back toward the room where the alien was being held. We need to get this information to all resistance cells. For the first time, I think we have a real chance. There's something else, Emma said. The aliens' reaction when I operated their technology. It was surprised, more than surprised. I think the Dominion doesn't realize how compatible humans are with their systems. Jack nodded, understanding the implications. Then we need to exploit that advantage before they figure it out. It's time to move from defense to offense. Outside, snow was falling again, coating the world in white. But within the resistance base, a fire had been lit. The first real hope that humanity might not just survive but fight back against the stars themselves. The summer heat beat down on the Montana landscape as Jack watched the drone footage with intense focus. On the small screen, a Dominion supply convoy moved along what had once been Interstate 90. 3 transport vehicles surrounded by armed guards, heading west toward the control center in Seattle. Perfect timing, he murmured. Just like the intel said. 1 year into the occupation, the resistance had grown from scattered survivors into a global network. What began as desperate hit-and-run attacks had evolved into coordinated strikes. Today would be their biggest operation yet. Teams are in position, Mark reported, checking the encrypted communication system they'd developed using modified Dominion technology. Portland and Boise units confirm they're ready. Jack nodded. Tell them to proceed on schedule, no delays. Beside him, Emma made final adjustments to the device that sat on the table. It looked like a strange mixture of Earth and alien technology. Circuit boards connected to glowing blue crystals, all housed in what had once been a simple metal toolbox. The signal disruptor is ready, she said, not looking up from her work. It should create a 30-second window. After that, their systems will adapt. 30 seconds is all we need, Jack replied. Synchronize watches. We move in 20 minutes. The attack happened simultaneously at 3 points along the convoy route. As the lead transport passed through a narrow mountain pass, the first explosion hit. Not close enough to damage the vehicles, the Dominion shields would have protected against that, but enough to make them stop. In that moment of confusion, Emma activated the signal disruptor. The blue crystals pulsed with energy as it sent out an electromagnetic pulse specifically calibrated to the frequency of Dominion communication systems. Now, Jack ordered into his radio. From hidden positions in the surrounding forest, 24 resistance fighters emerged. They carried a mixture of human and alien weapons. Most importantly, they moved with practiced coordination, each person knowing their exact role. The Dominion guards reacted quickly, but without their communication systems, they couldn't coordinate. The resistance had studied their standard tactics, knew their weaknesses. Jack led the main assault team running low across the road. He carried what looked like a rifle but had been modified with Dominion energy components. When he fired, it sent out not bullets but concentrated bursts of energy that could penetrate the aliens' exoskeletons. The battle lasted less than 5 minutes. When it ended, the resistance had control of all 3 transport vehicles with minimal casualties. Quickly, Jack ordered. Get everything unloaded and into the trucks. We have 8 minutes before their reinforcements arrive. The fighters moved, with efficient speed, transferring crates from the alien vehicles to concealed human trucks. They'd done this before, but never on this scale. As Jack supervised the operation, Emma called him over to the lead transport. Look at this, she said, pointing to a secured compartment they'd forced open. Inside was not supplies but data storage devices. Dozens of them glowing with that distinctive blue light of Dominion technology. What is it? He asked. Emma's eyes widened as she scanned the alien symbols. Strategic information. These are military plans, communications logs, command protocols. She looked up at him, excitement clear on her face. Jack, this is big, really big. Can you read it? Some of it. We'll need time to decode the rest, but she pointed to one symbol sequence she recognized. This refers to their central command structure, and this, she indicated another, lists their orbital platform access codes. Jack felt a surge of hope. Get it all, priority 1. Back at the main resistance base, now a sprawling underground facility built beneath an abandoned mine, Emma and her team worked for days to decode the captured data. What they found exceeded their highest expectations. It's a complete command. Protocol archive, Emma explained to the resistance leadership gathered in the strategy room. Communication encryptions, platform access codes, and most importantly, strategic plans for the next phase of their occupation. What are they planning? Asked Layla, who had come down from Canada to coordinate with their cell. Emma projected a holographic map using modified Dominion technology. They're establishing a permanent presence. These points here, several locations lit up across the globe, are designated as processing centers. They plan to begin large-scale resource extraction. What kind of resources? Jack asked, though he already suspected the answer. Some minerals, rare earth elements, water. Emma paused, her expression grim. And biological resources, us. They consider humans a valuable commodity. Our neural compatibility with their technology makes us useful as operators. A heavy silence fell over the room. Everyone understood what that meant. Slaves. Human brains connected to Dominion machines. There's something else, Emma continued after a moment. I found repeated references to Admiral Voss in something called Operation Career Advancement. Our captive was right. This entire invasion was his personal project. He's diverted resources from other Dominion operations to support it. Which means the full Dominion doesn't know what's happening here? Jack asked. They know Earth is being contained, but the details? No. Voss has been filtering all communications. Based on these logs, he's reported Earth as successfully pacified with minimal resistance. Mark leaned forward. Can we use that? Send our own message to the Dominion? Emma shook her head. Not directly. Their deep space communication requires equipment we don't have, but her eyes lit up with a new idea. We might be able to disrupt Voss's communications. If he can't report success, then the Dominion might investigate, Jack finished. Good. Work on that. In the meantime, there's something else we need to discuss. He nodded to Bill, who had been analyzing the tactical data. Bill stood and took over the holographic display. While Emma's team was working on the strategic information, I found this. The display changed to show what looked like computer code, a strange mixture of symbols and patterns. It's their operating system architecture. Their what? Layla asked. The basic code that runs all their technology, Bill explained. And here's the thing. It's not that different from ours. Different symbols, different organization, but the underlying logic? It's binary-based. Ones and zeros, just like our computers. Emma picked up the thread, which means we might be able to create a virus that could infect their systems. Something they wouldn't be prepared for because it would use programming approaches they haven't encountered before. A computer virus against an alien empire? Jack couldn't help but smile at the irony. How long would it take to develop? With the team we have? A few weeks, Emma replied. But we'd need a way to deliver it directly to their main systems. The orbital platforms would be ideal. They link to all ground operations. Jack turned to the map, studying the glowing points that represented Dominion installations. Then we need to get to one of those platforms. That's impossible, Bill objected. We can't reach orbit. We don't have... We do, Jack interrupted. Or rather, they do. He pointed to a location in the desert southwest. Their resupply shuttles launch from here every 14 days. With the access codes we now have, we might be able to hijack one. The room erupted in discussion, voices raising as people argued the merits and dangers of such a plan. Jack let them talk, his eyes still on the map. After a year of defending, of reacting, they finally had a chance to strike back in a meaningful way. It'll be dangerous, he said finally, silencing the room. We'll lose people. But for the first time, we have a real chance to hurt them. Not just a single patrol or supply convoy, but their entire command structure. I can make the virus, Emma said confidently. Give me 3 weeks. I can get a team into that launch facility, Layla added. My people have been mapping it for months. One by one, the resistance leaders voiced their support. Plans began to form, responsibilities assigned, timelines established. Later that night, as the base settled into its night cycle, Jack found Emma still working in her lab. "You should rest," he said, echoing words she had once spoken to him. She smiled without looking up from her calculations. "Too close now. We finally have a chance to turn this around." Jack watched her work for a moment. "Do you think it will be enough? Even if we succeed, they could send more ships, more troops." Emma finally looked up. "Maybe. But success isn't just about the virus or taking out their platforms. It's about showing the Dominion that Earth isn't what Voss reported, that we're not easily contained." She tapped the alien data device. "According to this, the Dominion has protocols for dealing with unexpectedly resilient species. Diplomatic protocols. You think they'd negotiate? After everything they've done?" "I think empires don't waste resources when they don't have to," she replied pragmatically. "Especially empires fighting on multiple fronts. If we make Earth too costly to hold, they might reconsider." Jack nodded slowly. The possibility seemed remote, but it was more hope than they'd had in a year. "Get some sleep, Emma. Tomorrow we start planning the biggest mission of our lives." As he left the lab, he passed the wall where they had painted their motto in large letters. "They got one, the end of patience." Next to it now hung a salvaged Dominion flag, taken from the convoy raid, a symbol of their first major victory, and hopefully not their last. Dawn broke over the Nevada desert, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Jack Reynolds lay flat on his stomach on a rocky ridge, high-powered binoculars trained on the Dominion launch facility below. Beside him, Layla did the same, occasionally, making notes on a tattered paper map. "Third patrol just passed," she whispered. "Right on schedule." Jack nodded. The Dominion, for all their advanced technology, were creatures of habit. Their patrols followed the same routes. Their supply shuttles launched at the same times. It made them predictable and vulnerable. "Launch preparation begins in 40 minutes, he said, checking his watch. "Teams in position?" Layla tapped her earpiece, listening to reports from the scattered resistance fighters hidden around the perimeter. "All ready. Emma's team is at the southern access point." Jack took one last look at the facility, a sprawling complex of angular structures surrounded by a shimmering energy barrier. Inside, Dominion troops moved with their usual mechanical precision, preparing the shuttle that would soon depart for their orbital platform. "Let's move," he said. Emma Wilson waited with her team in a concealed position near the facility's power relay station. The virus she had created, a complex amalgamation of human programming languages and reverse-engineered Dominion code, was stored on a modified data crystal strapped securely to her belt. 3 weeks of non-stop work had gone into its creation. If successful, it would infiltrate the Dominion's command systems and disrupt their entire Earth operation. But first, they needed to get it onto the orbital platform. "Ready?" asked Tom, one of the engineers who had helped develop the signal disruptor they'd used in previous raids. Emma nodded, checking the small device in her hands. This newer version was more powerful but had a critical limitation. It would work for exactly 75 seconds before the Dominion systems adapted. Her earpiece crackled. "Phase 1 initiating," came Jack's voice. "Stand by." On the far side of the facility, a series of explosions erupted, not close enough to damage the launch area, but positioned to draw attention and response teams away from the southern perimeter. "Now," Emma said. Tom activated the signal disruptor. The familiar blue glow pulsed as it sent out its carefully calibrated electromagnetic frequencies. Around them, the air seemed to shimmer for a moment. "Barrier down," Tom confirmed, checking his scanner. 75 seconds and counting. Emma led her team forward at a run. They crossed the open ground to the perimeter, moving through the section where the energy barrier had temporarily failed. Inside, alarms were blaring, but most of the Dominion forces were responding to the diversionary explosions. They reached the power relay station unopposed. Emma quickly located the access panel and placed her hand on it, just as they had practiced with salvaged Dominion technology. The panel recognized her neural patterns and slid open. 30 seconds, Tom warned. Emma worked quickly, connecting their interface device to the Dominion systems. The alien symbols flowed across the small screen as the device uploaded the access codes they had stolen. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the symbols turned green. "We're in," she breathed. "Relay station security bypassed." 15 seconds until the barrier reactivates, Tom said tensely. "Go," Emma ordered the rest of the team. "Get to your positions." As they dispersed, Emma finished the final stage of the hack, creating a back door into the shuttle launch systems. According to their intelligence, Admiral Voss himself was scheduled to arrive at the orbital platform today, a rare visit to inspect his successful Earth operation. Their plan depended on him being there. 5 seconds, Tom counted down. They barely made it back through the perimeter before the energy barrier snapped back into place, its blue glow intensifying as the Dominion systems compensated for the disruption. Phase 1 complete, Emma reported into her comm. "We have access." Jack received Emma's confirmation as he led the main assault team through the maintenance tunnels beneath the facility. These tunnels, built by humans before the invasion, and apparently unknown to the Dominion, provided their path to the launch bay. "Status?" he asked Mark, who monitored their tactical display. "Diversion drew off 60% of security forces," Mark reported. "Launch bay is minimally guarded. They're still planning to launch on schedule." Perfect. The Dominion's rigid adherence to procedure was working in their favor. They reached the access point, a maintenance hatch that opened into a storage area adjacent to the launch bay. Jack held up his hand, signaling the team to halt, then checked the scanner. 4 Dominion guards in the immediate vicinity. "Masks on," he ordered quietly. Everyone pulled on breathing masks, and Jack nodded to Kelly, who held a canister of modified sedative gas. They had discovered, through painful trial and error, that certain Earth chemicals affected Dominion physiology in unexpected ways. This particular compound would render them unconscious within seconds of exposure. Kelly released the gas through a small opening in the hatch, then sealed it again. They waited 30 seconds before Jack checked the scanner again. All 4 signatures were now stationary. "Move," he commanded. The team emerged into the storage area, stepping carefully over the unconscious Dominion guards. Jack led them to the launch bay doors, where Emma's hack had disabled the security protocols. The massive doors slid open silently, revealing the launch bay beyond. The shuttle sat on its launch pad, a sleek silver craft about the size of a commercial airplane. Around it, technicians made final preparations, oblivious to the human infiltrators. Jack activated his comm. "Phase 2, go." Across the facility, the second wave of diversionary explosions detonated, these closer to the main administrative buildings. As expected, the remaining security forces rushed to respond, leaving the launch bay vulnerable. The resistance fighters moved swiftly, deploying more sedative gas to neutralize the technicians. Within minutes, they had control of the bay. "Secure the shuttle," Jack ordered. "Emma, we need you here now." Emma and her team reached the launch bay 10 minutes later, having navigated through the chaos of the facility. Emergency alarms blared continuously, and smoke rose from several buildings. "Situation?" she asked as she entered the shuttle. "Ready for launch," Jack replied. "But we need you to bypass the final security protocols." Emma moved to the control console. Like all Dominion technology, it was designed to respond to neural patterns. She placed her hands on the interface panels, feeling the now familiar tingling sensation as the system recognized and responded to her. "They've activated emergency lockdown procedures," she said, reading the alien symbols that flowed across the screen. "But they haven't realized we're in the shuttle yet. I can work with this." Her fingers danced across the controls, applying the knowledge they'd gained from months of studying captured technology. Jack watched in amazement. It still struck him as incredible that humans could operate these alien systems at all, let alone with such skill. "How much time until they figure out what we're doing?" he asked. "Minutes at most," Emma replied without looking up. "But we'll be gone by then." With a final flourish, she bypassed the launch security. The shuttle hummed to life, its engines beginning their pre-launch sequence. "We're clear," she announced. Automated launch in 30 seconds. Everyone, strap in, Jack ordered. The 12 resistance members quickly found seats and secured themselves as best they could with the alien restraints. Emma took the main control position, with Jack beside her. Neither had ever flown anything more complicated than a small airplane, but their studies of Dominion controls, combined with the shuttle's semi-automated systems, should be enough. They hoped. Launch in 10, Emma said, her voice steady despite the tension. 9. 8. Through the viewports, they could see Dominion security forces rushing into the launch bay, weapons raised. 3, 2, 1. The shuttle surged, upward with incredible force, pressing them all back into their seats. The launch bay fell away beneath them, the Dominion troops growing smaller by the second. "They're firing," Mark called out, watching the rear displays. Energy beams lanced up from the ground, but the shuttle's shields absorbed the impacts. Within moments, they were too high for the ground-based weapons to reach them. The blue sky darkened rapidly as they ascended, soon giving way to the star-filled blackness of space. The crushing acceleration eased as they left Earth's atmosphere. "We made it," Emma said, her voice filled with wonder as she stared at the curved horizon of Earth below them. None of them had ever been to space before. Jack allowed himself a moment to appreciate the view, then refocused on their mission. "How long to the platform?" Emma checked the navigation system. 22 minutes at current speed. The virus will need to be uploaded directly to their central systems. And Admiral Voss? According to the communications we intercepted, his ship should already be docked. Jack nodded grimly. Then we have one chance to get this right. He turned to address the team. "Check your equipment. Remember your assignments. This isn't just about disrupting their operations. We're showing them that humanity isn't defeated." As the shuttle raced toward the orbital platform, Jack took one more look at the Earth below. Beautiful, wounded, but still fighting back. For the first time since the invasion, he allowed himself to imagine a future where humans looked to the stars not in fear, but in defiance. The Dominion had struck Earth first, expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had awakened something they didn't understand, the indomitable human spirit. And now, that spirit was carrying the fight beyond Earth itself to the very doorstep of their conquerors. In the emptiness of space, the small, human-piloted shuttle approached the massive Dominion platform, a shining symbol of the Resistance's greatest gamble yet. The Dominion orbital platform loomed before them, a massive structure of gleaming metal and pulsing energy fields. From this distance, it resembled a giant metallic spider, with the central command hub surrounded by 8 extending arms. Each arm housed different functions: weapons arrays, communication systems, shuttle bays, and more. "We're being hailed," Emma announced, studying the blinking symbols on the control panel. "They're expecting a supply delivery and crew rotation." Jack nodded. "Send the authorization codes." Emma transmitted the codes they had stolen. Tense seconds passed as they waited for a response. "Codes accepted," she finally said, relief evident in her voice. "We're cleared to dock at Bay 3. The shuttle's automated systems took over, guiding them toward one of the smaller docking bays on the platform's eastern arm. Through the viewports, they could see other Dominion ships, mostly small patrol craft, but also Admiral Voss's command vessel, its distinctive red markings visible against its dark hull. "Remember the plan," Jack told the team as they prepared for docking. "Team 1 with me, we secure the path to the central hub. Team 2 with Emma, get to the main computer core and upload the virus. Team 3, hold the shuttle for our escape." The shuttle slid smoothly into the docking bay, mechanical arms extending to secure it in place. Atmosphere surrounded the craft as the bay repressurized. "Masks on," Jack ordered. They had brought the same sedative gas that had worked in the launch facility. "Move fast, we have 15 minutes before the next scheduled communication check." The shuttle door opened with a soft hiss. 2 Dominion dock workers approached, expecting a routine delivery. They dropped to the floor as the sedative gas hit them. "Clear," Mark reported, checking his scanner. "No other personnel in the immediate vicinity." The resistance fighters moved swiftly from the shuttle, dragging the unconscious Dominion workers inside and securing them. Team 3 took up defensive positions around the shuttle, while Jack led Team 1 toward the main corridor. Emma checked her equipment one final time. The virus data crystal was secure, and her neural interface gloves, modified from Dominion technology, would allow her to access the alien systems. Good luck, Jack told her as their teams prepared to separate. Emma nodded. See you in 30 minutes, either with victory or not at all. Jack's team encountered minimal resistance as they moved through the corridors. Most of the platform's crew were at their regular stations, not expecting any threat. Those they did meet were quickly neutralized with precision and the element of surprise. They reached the central hub access corridor to find it guarded by 4 Dominion soldiers. These were not simple workers but trained military personnel, alert, and armed with the rod-shaped energy weapons that could cut through concrete. Frontal approach won't work, Jack whispered, studying the guards from their concealed position around a corner. We need a diversion. Kelly reached into her pack and produced a small device, one of Emma's creations that mimicked Dominion emergency signals. This should draw at least some of them away, she said. Jack nodded. Kelly activated the device and slid it down an adjacent corridor. Seconds later, alarm tones began to sound from that direction. As expected, 2 of the guards moved to investigate. Now, Jack ordered. They emerged from cover, firing their modified weapons. The first guard fell immediately. The second managed to trigger an alarm before being hit. Move, Jack shouted. Their element of surprise was gone. Get to the central hub. Emma's team had made better progress. Using the maintenance shafts they had identified from stolen schematics, they avoided most regular crew areas. The few Dominion workers they encountered were swiftly neutralized. They reached the computer core without raising any alarms. The room was vast, filled with towering columns of crystal and metal, the physical manifestation of the Dominion's technological superiority. Cover the entrance, Emma instructed 2 of her team members. Tom, with me. She approached the main interface terminal, a sleek console surrounded by holographic displays. This was the heart of the platform's operations, and their target. Emma pulled on her neural interface gloves and placed her hands on the console. The familiar tingling sensation washed over her as the system recognized and responded to her neural patterns. I'm in, she said, watching alien symbols flow across the displays. Beginning the upload process. She inserted the data crystal into a port on the console. The virus, designed to look like routine system updates, began flowing into the Dominion network. How long? Tom asked, nervously watching the entrance. 4 minutes for complete integration, Emma replied, her focus on the display. Once it's fully uploaded, it will replicate throughout their entire Earth-based network. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the platform. They've discovered us, said one of the guards at the door. Emma worked faster, her fingers dancing, across the alien interface. 3 minutes more, we need to hold them off. In the central hub, Jack and his team had reached their target, the command center where Admiral Voss was scheduled to be. The alarms were blaring here too, and they could hear the sounds of Dominion troops mobilizing. Stack up, Jack ordered, as they reached the command center doors. Breach on my mark. Before he could give the order, the doors slid open. Jack barely had time to dive for cover as energy beams sliced through the air where he had been standing. One of his team wasn't fast enough. The beam caught him squarely in the chest, leaving nothing but ash. Jack returned fire from behind a console, his modified weapon sending pulses of energy into the command center. Through the chaos, he caught glimpses of their opposition, at least a dozen Dominion soldiers, and at their center a taller figure with distinctive markings on its exoskeleton, Admiral Voss. Push forward, Jack shouted to his remaining team members. We need to take the Admiral. In the computer core, Emma watched the upload progress with growing anxiety. The alarms continued to blare, and she could hear sounds of combat echoing through the platform. 90% uploaded, she announced. Almost there. The doors to the computer core suddenly buckled as something heavy slammed against them from the outside. "They're breaking through," called one of the guards, taking up a defensive position. 80 seconds more, Emma said, not looking up from her work. "Hold them off." The doors burst open and Dominion troops poured in. Energy beams crisscrossed the room as Emma's guards returned fire. Tom fell, clutching his shoulder where a beam had grazed him. Emma continued working, ignoring the chaos around her. The upload bar crawled toward completion. 95%, 96%, 97%. A Dominion soldier broke through the defensive line, charging directly at Emma. She had no time to reach for a weapon, no time to move away from the console. The soldier raised its weapon, then suddenly crumpled to the floor as one of Emma's guards fired a desperate shot from across the room. "Done!" Emma shouted as the upload reached 100%. "It's in their system!" Almost immediately, the lights in the room flickered. The holographic displays around the console distorted, then stabilized in a different configuration. Throughout the IA platform, the virus was taking effect, infiltrating and rewriting the Dominion command systems. "Fall back to the shuttle," Emma ordered, helping Tom to his feet. "The virus will handle the rest." In the command center, the battle had reached a stalemate. Jack and his remaining team members were pinned down behind barricades, exchanging fire with Admiral Voss's guards. Then, without warning, the lights flickered. The command consoles around them began to shut down, one by one. "What's happening?" One of the Dominion soldiers called out in their strange, accented English. Admiral Voss made a series of clicking sounds that Jack recognized as their language's equivalent of cursing. "Secure those systems, override the shutdown." But it was too late. Throughout the command center, systems were failing. Defense protocols, life support, communications, all compromised by Emma's virus. Jack seized the moment of confusion to launch a final assault. He vaulted over his cover and charged directly at Admiral Voss, firing his weapon to clear a path. The Admiral turned to face him, 4 eyes narrowing in what might have been surprise. He raised his own weapon, but the platform lurched suddenly as stabilization systems failed, throwing off his aim. Jack tackled the alien Admiral to the ground. Despite the Dominion's technological superiority, in pure physical combat, the Admiral was no match for Jack's combat experience. Within moments, Jack had him subdued, the Admiral's own weapon pressed against his exoskeletal chest. "Order your troops to stand down," Jack demanded. The Admiral's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "You are making a mistake, human. This rebellion is pointless." The Dominion will what?" Jack interrupted. "Send more troops? The Dominion doesn't even know what's happening here. This was your operation, your mistake." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across the Admiral's alien features. A voice came over Jack's comm unit. "Jack, we've secured a path to the shuttle. The virus is fully integrated. We need to leave now." It was Emma. "Change of plans," Jack replied. "We're bringing a guest." The shuttle launch was chaotic. With the platform systems compromised, defenses were offline, making their escape easier than expected. Emma's virus had done its work perfectly. Throughout the orbital platform, Dominion technology was either failing or operating under new parameters. Admiral Voss sat restrained in the shuttle's cargo area, surrounded by armed resistance fighters. He had stopped speaking after Jack's team had forced him aboard. As they cleared the platform, Emma joined Jack at the control console. "The virus is spreading to all Earth-based Dominion systems," she reported. "Their communication network, defense grids, even their ground vehicles, everything that connects to their central command is being rewritten." "And the message?" Jack asked. Emma nodded. "Transmitting now. Every Dominion ship and installation in the solar system is receiving it. And more importantly, it's being sent through their deep space relay back to the Dominion homeworld." Jack smiled grimly. "Let's hope they're listening." As the shuttle accelerated away from Earth orbit carrying its human crew and alien prisoner back toward the planet below, a message broadcast on all Dominion frequencies. It showed footage of the resistance fighting back, of humans operating Dominion technology with surprising skill, and finally of Admiral Voss being captured by Jack. The message ended with a simple statement in the Dominion language. Earth is not conquered. You got one the end of patience. We are coming to the stars. 3 weeks later, a new ship appeared in Earth orbit. Unlike the aggressive arrival of the Dominion fleet 18 months earlier, this vessel made no hostile moves. It simply waited, broadcasting a single message requesting communication. From the rebuilt Resistance headquarters, now operating openly. From a recaptured military base, Jack and Emma watched the satellite feed of the alien ship. It's not a warship, Emma noted, studying the design. It's a diplomatic vessel. The captured access codes had worked better than they had dared hope. Admiral Voss's unauthorized action against Earth had been exposed to the full Dominion leadership. The message they had broadcast, combined with the virus that had effectively neutralized the occupation forces, had accomplished what seemed impossible. The Dominion had sent negotiators. "What do we do?" asked Mark, who now coordinated global Resistance communications. Jack looked at the gathered leadership, people who had fought, suffered, and never surrendered through 18 months of alien occupation. "We talked to them," he said simply, but from a position of strength. Emma smiled, remembering a conversation they'd had in her lab almost a year ago. "And we make Earth too costly to hold. The diplomatic meetings would be complex. Earth was still recovering, still wounded. But humanity had proven itself in ways the Dominion had never anticipated. The neural compatibility that had first marked humans as a potential threat had become their greatest weapon, and potentially, their ticket to the stars. As preparations began for the first official contact with Dominion representatives, Jack stepped outside the base. The night sky was clear, stars shining brightly overhead. Somewhere up there, the remains of the Dominion occupation fleet drifted, disabled by Emma's virus. The orbital platforms, now under human control, represented humanity's first steps into becoming a spacefaring civilization. The Dominion had struck Earth first, expecting an easy victory over what they saw as primitives. Instead, they had awakened, a sleeping giant. Humanity's patience had ended, and its journey to the stars had just begun. In the distance, the lights of a recovering city glowed against the darkness. Life was returning, Earth was healing, and beyond the sky, new possibilities waited. The Empire had struck Earth first, but humanity would have the last word.